Sophie didn't realize she was shaking until she caught her reflection in the dark office window. Her fingers were still on the keyboard. Her screen was full of spreadsheets, but her mind wasn't on work. It was on Daniel. 2 months of stolen attention, 2 months of dangerous excitement, 2 months of a version of herself she didn't recognize. Her phone buzzed in her lap. "Daniel, I can't stop thinking about you." Heat rushed through her chest so fast it almost felt like fear. Because on the corner of her desk sat a framed photo of Mark. Mark smiling, Mark holding her close, Mark wearing the life she had promised to protect. She should have put the phone away. Instead, she typed one word, then erased it, typed again, deleted again, as if guilt could be removed with a backspace. Around her, the office sounded normal. Chairs scraped, people laughed, someone made a joke about deadlines. The world kept moving like nothing was wrong. Sophie didn't move at all. Then her phone buzzed again. Not Daniel. A number with no name, no profile photo, no history. Just one line. "You're not as careful as you think." Her stomach turned to ice. She stared at the screen, waiting for a second message to prove it was a prank. It came immediately. "Cafe, rainy window. His hand on yours, I saw it." Sophie's throat tightened. No one was supposed to know about that cafe. No one was supposed to know she'd told Mark she was working late. No one was supposed to know how Daniel's voice made her forget the word married. Slowly, Sophie lifted her head and scanned the room. She searched faces. She searched for a smirk, a glance held too long, a person watching her like a secret. Nothing. Her phone buzzed again. "You have 2 choices, Sophie." Her heart hammered so hard she could hear it. "Stop now or lose everything." Sophie didn't breathe. A coworker asked her a harmless question about a report. Sophie answered automatically, like her body had separated from her brain. Then one more message appeared, shorter than the rest, colder than the rain outside. "Mark is already suspicious." Sophie's eyes flicked to the photo on her desk. Mark's smile, her ring, her home. And suddenly, she understood the worst part. This wasn't just an affair anymore. It was a trap. And someone had been watching long before Sophie ever met Daniel. "Don't move yet." Because Sophie still thinks this is something she can control. A late night here, a hidden cafe there, a few messages deleted before Mark ever notices. But the moment that unknown number described the cafe, the affair stopped being a secret and became a countdown. Sophie is married to Mark. 6 years, routines, trust, the kind of love that feels safe because it's steady. Daniel is the man she met 2 months ago, the man who made her feel alive in the most dangerous way. And now there's a third presence in this story. Someone who doesn't want love. Someone who doesn't want honesty. Someone who wants leverage. So let's rewind to where it really began. To a normal morning at the office, when Sophie's phone buzzed, and she chose desire over safety. Sophie sat at her desk pretending to focus, but she could feel Daniel's attention in the room even when he wasn't near her. He wasn't loud. He wasn't obvious. He didn't touch her in public. That was what made it worse. He knew how to look at her like a secret, like a dare. And Sophie hated how quickly she started needing it. By afternoon, the messages were constant. Small lines that felt harmless at first. Then lines that didn't. "I keep replaying last night," Daniel wrote. Sophie stared at the words, then glanced down at her wedding ring like it could remind her who she was. It didn't. She told herself she loved Mark. And she did. That was the problem. Because loving Mark didn't stop her heartbeat from changing every time Daniel's name lit up her screen. That evening, Sophie texted Mark a simple lie. Meeting ran late, don't wait up. Mark replied with a heart and a drive safe. That kindness hit her like a slap. She still went anyway. The cafe Daniel chose was small and dim, the kind of place where strangers didn't look up from their cups. Rain tapped softly against the window. The lighting made everyone look like a silhouette. Daniel smiled the moment he saw her. "You're beautiful," he said, like he'd been holding the words in all day. Sophie sat across from him and tried to sound strong. "I can't keep doing this." Daniel's voice dropped. "But you want to." And that was the truth she couldn't argue with. Their hands brushed on the table, barely a touch, but Sophie felt it like electricity. She kept looking around the cafe, half expecting Mark to appear behind her like a nightmare. No one noticed. That was part of the addiction. The risk, the secrecy, the feeling that she was getting away with something. When she got home later, her coat damp from rain and her heart still racing, Mark was waiting on the couch. He smiled at her like nothing had changed. "Long day?" he asked. Sophie leaned in and kissed him. And the guilt made her feel sick. That night her phone buzzed again. "Daniel, I need you tonight." Sophie turned the phone face down and stared at the ceiling. She told herself she would stop. Then she typed "okay." Days blurred into a pattern. Work lies, meetings that weren't real, coffee that tasted like guilt, messages deleted too quickly. Sophie got good at acting normal. She laughed with Mark, she ate dinner, she asked about his day. Then she waited for him to fall asleep and checked her phone like it was a drug. One night she told Mark she had a late meeting and walked through rain toward Daniel's apartment. The streets were quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you feel watched. Daniel opened the door with that same hungry smile. "You came," he said. Sophie tried to make it sound like a warning. "This is getting out of control." Daniel stepped closer. "Then stop," he said softly. "Stop thinking about me, stop coming back." Sophie couldn't. That was the truth. And Daniel knew it. Afterwards, Sophie walked home alone, rain soaking her hair, the city lights reflecting off the pavement like broken glass. She pulled her coat tighter and told herself she was destroying her own life. Her phone buzzed. "Daniel again. I can't wait to see you." Sophie didn't reply right away. Not because she was strong, because she was scared. Mark had been quieter lately. Not angry.
If this story hits you, you can support the channel with a quick hype.
Just attentive. He asked simple questions. "What time did your meeting end? Who were you with?" Sophie answered too fast. That was when she noticed a message on Mark's phone one evening, left on the counter like he'd forgotten to hide it. He'd texted a friend. "I feel something off. I can't explain it, but I need to be sure." Sophie's blood went cold. Not because she was caught, because she realized he was watching. And then the unknown number returned. Her phone buzzed while she was in the office bathroom, staring at herself like she was trying to recognize her own face. "Unknown number. You're running out of time." Sophie's hands went numb. She texted back one word. "Who are you?" No response. 2 minutes later. "Tell Daniel you're done, or Mark will learn the truth from someone else." Sophie stared at the message until her eyes burned. For the first time since it started, the affair stopped feeling thrilling. It started feeling dangerous. Not romantic danger. Real danger. The kind that ruins lives. That night, Daniel pushed harder than usual. "Meet me," he wrote, "tonight at the park." Sophie didn't want to. She wanted to go home. She wanted to climb into bed beside Mark and pretend she was still the woman he married. But Daniel kept texting, and Sophie kept cracking. She left the apartment quietly. Mark was in the shower. The timing felt too perfect. Outside, fog curled around the streetlights. The park was mostly empty, the paths slick from rain. Sophie walked fast, head down, heart pounding. She expected Daniel by the bench near the trees. He wasn't there. She waited 5 minutes, 10. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Under the next light. Sophie froze. She looked around. The park felt suddenly too open, too exposed. She typed, "Is this you, Daniel?" No answer. Her phone buzzed again. "You wanted secrecy. You got it. Step forward." Sophie swallowed hard and walked toward the next streetlight. The glow cut through the fog like a knife. And standing under it was Mark. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't even angry. He was calm in a way that made Sophie feel like she'd fallen through ice. Sophie stopped moving. Mark held his phone up, not like a threat, like evidence. On the screen were screenshots, timestamps, her lies, the cafe, the messages she thought she deleted. Sophie's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Mark's voice was quiet. "I didn't want to believe it," he said. "I kept telling myself I was paranoid." Sophie stepped forward on instinct. "Mark, please." Mark took one step back, and that tiny movement hurt more than any scream could have. Sophie's voice broke. The messages, the unknown number. Mark stared at her, steady and exhausted. "That was me," he said. The world went silent. Sophie shook her head like she misheard. What do you mean?" Mark's face tightened for half a second, like he was swallowing years of love and turning it into ash. "I needed certainty," he said. "Not a feeling, not a guess." Sophie's eyes filled. "So you watched me?" Mark nodded once. "I watched you lie," he said. "I watched you come home and kiss me after being with him." Sophie covered her mouth, breath shaking. Mark's voice stayed calm. "I didn't want revenge," he said. "I wanted truth." Sophie tried to reach him again. "It was a mistake." Mark's expression didn't change. "Mistakes don't have schedules," he said. "Mistakes don't have cafes. Mistakes don't have late-night meetings." Sophie whispered, barely audible, "Where is Daniel?" Mark didn't answer immediately. Then he said quietly, "He's not coming." Sophie's chest tightened. Mark's eyes finally showed something raw. Not anger. Pain. "Tonight," Mark said, "I wanted to see if you'd still choose him, even after you knew someone was watching." Sophie's knees felt weak. She looked around the park, the fog, the empty path. She realized the trap wasn't the unknown number. The trap was her. Her choices. Her addiction to the risk. Mark lowered his phone. His voice softened, but it didn't become kind. "I don't know who you are anymore," he said, "and I'm done trying to." Sophie's tears fell. "Mark, I love you." Mark's laugh was small and broken. "Love doesn't do this," he said. Then he turned and walked away into the fog. Sophie stood under the streetlight, alone, shaking, listening to her own breathing like it was the only sound left in the world. Her phone buzzed one last time. A final message appeared. "Now you know what it feels like." Sophie stared at the screen until the light blurred. Then she did something she'd never done before. She didn't delete it. Because for the first time, she wasn't trying to hide. She was just trying to survive the silence where her marriage used to be.
If you've ever felt this kind of pain, don't walk through it alone. Hit subscribe and stay with us. More real stories are coming.